Good morning, class. How are you today? That's great. I am very pleased to see all of you in this virtual class. I hope everyone is excited for our new lesson for today. Before we begin, let us utter a short prayer. Amen. At this point, let me proceed with the checking of attendance. Say present if your name is called and also turn on your cam and your microphone. Now I'd like to ask Joshua to read our online class rules just to remind us of the things that we should and should not do in this virtual class. Thank you, Joshua. Before we proceed to our lesson for today, I would like to know if you still remember our lesson yesterday. Okay, who would like to volunteer? Very good. So, what are the steps no, that that we used in adding and subtracting dissimilar fractions or rational numbers? Who would like to try? Okay, Steph. Very good. Excellent. Again, here are the steps that you need to follow in adding or subtracting dissimilar fractions. First, you need to determine your denominators. Next, you need to find the LCM or the least common multiple of these denominators. And after finding the LCM, that becomes automatically your LCD or the least common denominator. And with the LCD, we can find or we can generate equivalent fractions. Now, that depend on the number of fractions that we have. We can have two or more fractions that we can add or subtract. And although this step has some sub-steps in this, napa ni mga ginagmayng steps under this, but right after generating equivalent fractions, you are set to either add or subtract the fractions. So as an example, you have here uh, this one that we had yesterday. No? And I noticed that most of you had a hard time no? Following these steps. And that's what I found in the result of your quiz yesterday. At this point, let's have our first activity, and I call this Find Your Way. You will be working with your respective group and yeah, work collaboratively with your group mates, and you will do the presentation after 5 minutes. Now, here's the instruction for this activity. It's for you to create a plan in going to Abiliana Sports Complex from our school. So uh, that means from Zapatera National High School to Abiliana Sports Complex, not Abiliana National High School. That's Abiliana Sports Complex. So what you're going to do is to create a plan or write down a route that you will take if you are going to Abiliana from our school. So you have to specify the streets or the streets that you're going to take in going to Abiliana Sports Complex. Now you are going to work with your group mates, and your time starts now. Time is up, and now it's your turn to present your plan. So we start with group one. Very good, group one. And let's move to group two. Good job, group two. And last but not the least, let's have group three. Excellent. Okay, did you enjoy the activity? Yes. Now, all of you did a good job, and with that, let's all give ourselves a virtual clap. Okay. Now, which do you think is the shortest route from our school to Abiliana Sports Complex? Anyone? Okay, Mark from Group 2. Now, do you agree with Mark? Yes. Group two's plan is the shortest route from our school to Abiliana Sports Complex. And we also call it as a shortcut, no? Because the other routes, mas dugay ta makaabot, no? Sa Abiliana Sports Complex. Now, with Group two's route or plan, we would reach Abiliana Sports Complex faster than the other routes presented earlier. Now, who likes shortcuts? Kinsay ganahan diri shortcuts? Yes, most of us really like shortcuts. And why? Why do you like shortcuts? Okay, no, kay gadali man ta. We want to reach the place faster. What else? Lagi no kay gadaginot man ta gasolina or whatever it is. Nga ganahan ta nga magdali, no? So we like shortcuts. And in math, we also have some shortcuts that can lead us to the correct answer in or lead us to the correct answer easier than the other uh, steps that you learned. Now, for today's lesson, I'm going to discuss or I'm going to teach you a shortcut in adding and subtracting dissimilar fractions. And this is called the butterfly method. To get started, here are the steps that we need to follow in adding and subtracting dissimilar fractions using the butterfly method. Can we read these steps together? Okay, ready? One, two, three, read. Now, based on these steps, we need to write the two fractions side by side. And after writing the fractions, we now ready to create the two wings. And these two wings are drawn through the diagonal made by the numerator of one fraction and the denominator of the other fraction, or the other way around. Here is the continuation of the steps. Shall we all read this together? Okay, great. So based on these steps, we're going to multiply the diagonals and put the product on the antenna. And after that, we're going to also multiply the bottom numbers or the denominators. And for our last steps, let's read this together. Okay, good. So for our final steps, we need to either add or subtract the numbers on the antenna of our butterfly. So if the operation is addition, then we simply add, and if it's subtraction, then we subtract. And after getting the result and copying the denominator or copying the bottom number, we, if necessary, we need to simplify or reduce the resulting fraction. To understand how this method works, here are some illustrative examples. First one is 3 over 4 plus 2 over 5. And since it's the two fractions are already written side by side, we're going to proceed to the next step, which is to draw the two wings and the antenna. Drawing the two wings uh, simply means that we we're going to cross multiply. That also means cross multiplying the numerator of the first by the denominator of the second, and the denominator of the first with the numerator of the second fraction. So doing that, multiplying 3 and 5, we get 15, and the other part is 4 and 2, we get 8. And notice that the two products are written on the antenna. Next is to multiply the bottom numbers or the denominators. In this case, we have 4 and 5. 4 times 5 is equal to 20. And then we proceed to simplifying the numbers on the antenna. Since we are given with the plus sign, the addition sign, we're going to add 15 and 8. And 15 plus 8 is equal to 23. And we simply copy the denominator, which is 20. So our answer is 23 over 20. Finally, we can transform this into a mixed number form. Since this is an improper fraction, we can transform this into a mixed number form. We simply need to ask ourselves, how many 20 are there in 23? And we know that there's only one 20 in 23, and the excess is 3. So our final answer in this first example is 1 and 3 over 20. Now, changing the sign, we have our second example. We still have the same fractions, but we have a different operation. So we have 3 over 4 minus 2 over 5. And since we already did uh, the other steps now in the first example, we're just going to copy the products, and we have 15 and 8 and also 20 for our denominator. Now we're going to uh, subtract, since the operation now is subtraction. So 15 minus 8 is equal to 7. So we have our answer is 7 over 20. And since we cannot reduce that, this will be our final answer. To get a good grasp of the steps of the butterfly method, here are additional examples. For number 1, we have 1 half or 1 over 2 plus 1 over 3 or 1/3. First step is to write the fraction side by side, and it's already written in that setup. Step 2 is to draw the wings as well as the antenna of the butterfly. And we can do that by or through the diagonal or the diagonals. So in this case, we have 1 and 3, and also we have 2 and 1. Next is, or step 3 is to multiply the numbers through the diagonals. So we're going to multiply 1 and 3, and the product is 3. We put that on the antenna at the left. Next is to multiply 2 and 1, and the product is 2, and that should be placed also on the antenna, but on the right antenna of the butterfly. Step 4 is to multiply the bottom numbers, the denominators. So we have 2 and 3. 2 times 3 is 6. And next, or step 5, is to add. In this case, we're going to add the numbers on the antenna. So we have 2, that should be 3 plus 2. And adding 3 plus 2, we get 5 over the denominator 6. So our final answer here is 5 over 6. Now for our example number 2, we have here 3 over 5, or 3/5, minus 1 over 7. So same steps. First is to write the fraction side by side, and that's already shown on the screen. Next is, or step 2, is to draw the wings of the butterfly as well as the antenna. So that should be through the diagonals. Step 3 is to multiply the numbers through the diagonals. So in this case we have 3 and 7, and that gives us 21. That should be placed on the left antenna. Next is to multiply 5 and 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Next step is to multiply the denominators. So we have 5 and 7. 5 times 7 is 35. Next step is to subtract the numbers on the antenna. So we have 21 and 5. So 21 minus 5, and that is equal to 16. And copying the denominator, we have 16 over 35. And since we can no longer reduce this fraction, this is already accepted as the final answer. So for numbers 3 and 4, you may do that in your spare time. Kindly copy the given, and you can also check if your answers are correct later. At this point, let's have a group activity. So on your screen are the tasks assigned to each group. Members and leaders of each group, kindly take note of the instructions or of the tasks assigned to you. So I'm going to give you 15 minutes to go to your group and do the required task. Time is up, and now is the time for your presentation. This time we will start with group 3. Very good, group 3, thank you. This time let's have group 2. Wow, very good, group 2. And finally, let's have group 1. Excellent. Now, all of you did a very good job, and uh, thank you for your presentation. I guess you're all ready for a short quiz. So on your screen are 5 numbers. Add and subtract the given fractions using the butterfly method. So kindly copy and answer these items on your paper. Okay, pass your papers now. And for your assignment, kindly copy the given that you can see on your screen, or you can also take a screenshot. And let's call this a day. I'll see you in our next meeting. Stay safe.